Okay, welcome everybody. I think we are broadcasting on our Facebook group, so that should be fine. And I see that people are still joining. Welcome to the meeting tonight, JFR, June 8th, 2021. And I believe that we have, where did I see him? Brian's iPhone. Where are you? Saw it before. Ah, there it is. I will ask Brian to unmute and we can go to our PBSO report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, this report that I'm taking is for 2 months because we haven't been here last month. Okay. So can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, I was getting a call also. Okay, we had 5 shots fired in the area, 3 residential burglaries. We had 1 stolen trailer, and also 1 vandalism. And guys, when you guys shoot in these guns, which obviously you probably shouldn't, please, unless you have that boom we always speak about, please, because we had someone in the neighborhood pretty much was shooting, I guess it was a holiday or whatever, and one of these projectiles went into someone's house. I mean, it can go downhill really fast from that. So just heads up with you guys, please be cautious when you guys doing stuff like that. Again, that's it for 2 months. Any comments, questions, remarks for us?
If anybody has any questions or remarks, you can either choose to type them in the chat, or you can signal with your hands up, or you can also unmute yourself. I like to pause for a little bit because sometimes the Facebook feed is a little bit delayed and there might be a question coming in there, but I don't see any questions in the Zoom chat. So we'll give it a couple more seconds. Thank you for your report, Deputy Cassie. I hope everything is well, and I hope everybody's staying safe out there.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you guys. Probably see you guys next month or the following month.
You got it, and we should be back to being live by then. So we'll be happy to have some in-face contact.
Perfect. All right, you guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, sir. You take care.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Okay, just as a little reminder, for those of you who may not have it, putting in the non-emergency number for PBSO 561-688-3400. If you don't have it in your phone, you might want to put that in there just to be on the safe side. Now we are going to Mr. Dillon. I got to find you and spotlight you for everybody and unmute you. Are you unmuted, Mike?
Yeah, I'm unmuted.
Okay, perfect. You're on.
All right, thanks, Matt. First off, we have a board meeting coming up next Thursday, June 17th, 6 o'clock at the District Work Center. Landowners are invited to attend, or you can attend through Zoom. Just go to our website, www.sirwcd.org. Go to the Board of Supervisor meetings and then scroll down to the district news highlights. There you'll find some information on how to attend through Zoom. So as we all know, hurricane season is here, though you wouldn't know it with all the dry conditions. But throughout the season, there are some things that landowners can be aware of and look out for. Number one, your driveway culverts. Just make sure your culverts are operable, they're open, they're free of any kind of sediment buildup. If you feel that your pipe is in need of replacement, or even maybe some of your neighbors, please contact the district and we'll come out and do an inspection of the culverts. Please report anyone who has, excuse me, who has filled in the drainage ditch with dirt, especially with new construction. There are a lot of contractors working out in the farms and country estates that, without thinking about it, fill the ditch in with dirt so they can gain access to the property. So if you see that kind of activity, please call the district and we'll come out and remove the blockage. Also, hopefully everyone has completed their pruning for the season. We do ask that you do not pile any yard or construction debris in the ditch area. It becomes a nuisance for us and could create a lot of problems in event of a storm. If you have more debris than what solid waste is able to pick up, you can call solid waste. They will work with you on the removal of any excess debris you may have along the roadside. So, you know, May was one of the driest months on record. I've been out here 30 years and definitely one of the driest I've ever seen. But we are in the rainy season, and they don't call it the rainy season for nothing. June is the second wettest month of the year behind September. So even though we're very dry, don't get complacent. Now's the time to report anything that may have negative impacts to the drainage system. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. I do have a graphic. Unfortunately, I put the wrong date on it, and nobody caught that in the proofread. So you had said that the date of the next meeting is next
June 17th, next Thursday.
So everything except for the date on here is should be fine.
Yes.
And again, if you have any questions, you can always contact the district office at sirwicket@sirwicket.org or 561-747-0550. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I don't see anybody typing or putting anything in. I don't see anybody unmiking, and I've kind of riffed for as long as I can to see if there was anything coming on Facebook, because that has a lag. And so, Mike, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we'll see you at your meeting, not on May 20th, but on June 17th.
Okay, man. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike. Let me remove your spotlight. And now I have to find our next speaker, who's down here on the list. Miss Susan Kennedy, if you would unmic yourself, and I can get your little card up there. There she is. Hi, Susan.
Hi. The update that we have is regarding the Heal House, which is the congregate living facility operating without a permit on Rocky Pines. They had appealed their the county's declining their reasonable accommodation request, because the county's rationale was that the house had not gone through the normal processes, which is part of the requirements that you have to do before you appeal. So they had a hearing set for today, but yesterday they asked for a 1 month postponement. So that will actually be heard in July. The other things that we're doing, following along with the CLF, is the changes to the Unified Land Development Code. And that was postponed, as Matt's put here on the screen, to July 22nd. So the next hearing before the Board of County Commissioners will be on July 22nd. However, there are going to be a few workshops or public information dialogue sessions, whatever they're calling them. They're public information meetings about the amendment, to answer people's questions, for folks to get clarification, and to give input for the language. The first one of those is Thursday, and it's via Zoom meeting, and we can get that link up on Facebook, and
Yeah, I can post that information on Facebook.
so that you guys can have it. You can always contact Palm Beach County Zoning directly, which is, test my memory, I forget the phone number, sorry. I think it's 233-5200, but you'll get some county department at that.
Right.
Anyway, so they can help you. So there's one this week, and that one is in the daytime. They will also be having at least one, if not two, evening sessions. They will all be accessible by Zoom, so that folks can tune in and find out more. One of the one of the items of feedback that was given regarding the previous workshop that they did was that the workshop, which was scheduled, I think, for a 2-hour time spot, maybe an hour and a half, but more than half of, about 2/3 of the meeting was taken up by staff doing their presentations. So there wasn't a lot of time for the public to have questions or to make comment. So they're trying to rectify that and have these meetings now. This was at the request of the Board of County Commissioners, and they voted for this postponement unanimously because there are several of them who also aren't yet comfortable with the number of questions that they have on the code language. So, and I think that's it with CLFs, Matt. Is that?
That is correct. The other thing that I might want to add to that, because I know that there are a couple of county people on the Zoom tonight, is after the last Zoom session, I had requested that county post the Zoom session along with the chat, because there were a lot of interesting answers that I couldn't copy and paste from the Zoom chat that various individuals were giving us. And to have that, to be able to go back and reference it would have been wonderful. And people from county had said that they would do that. And as far as I know, I could not find it, nor was any link or anything sent. So that would have been nice. And I think you have one more slide, Miss Susan.
Okay.
Let me bring that up.
Yes, that's not a JPC thing.
Correct.
I was, but there, I don't think there's any other development type issues that we have on the plate. So the next item is the Jupiter Farms Christmas Parade and Craft Fair. We do have a steering committee put together, but we are looking for others who want to be involved in helping plan and put on the parade. We will need a lot of hands on deck the weekend of December 5th. The 5th is the Sunday, so we'll need a little bit of prep on the 4th, but mostly the event will happen on Sunday the 5th. We will need folks to help us at the parade route to ensure some safety standards are met. We will need folks up at the craft fair to help people get checked in and moved around. And we would love everyone to come for the awards ceremony, which will be at the pavilion at the Jupiter Farms Park. We already have some folks who have helped with previous events that have volunteered to help us organize the craft fair, and our friends Terry Carrasco and her son Alex. I know I mangled your last name, Terry, I'm sorry. But they have really come through with us, and this is really exciting news because it hasn't happened in more than 15 years. Drum roll. Yeah. You ready? Are you ready? We will have the Jupiter High School marching band in the parade this year, which is a huge deal. They haven't been participating in the parade for, like I said, over 15 years. So we will have a real life parade with a real live marching band in it. So we're very excited to put the event on. We're looking for volunteers to help make it a really quality event. And anyone who's not volunteering, we hope will be along the parade route, watching it up at the craft floor, or be actually in the parade and then come up to the craft show. So that's it. The email is up in front of you. If you want to help volunteer for any aspect of it, or if you want to be on the email list for participating in either the parade or the craft show. So if you know that you have a group that wants to be in the parade, it's not too early to send us a note and say, please put us on the email list so that we get the application sent to us as soon as it's ready. And that goes for being in the parade or being up at the craft show at the park. So that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you. Is there any news on, going back to kind of development, any news on bush wildlife out here in the farms? I know there was some activity on the land. I think they were delineating wetlands. So it's kind of nice to see something happening, and it's exciting.
They have mowed, and they are getting the initial development steps done. So they have to mow things out, get everything officially marked with their survey markers, things like wetland delineation, double check all the boundary lines and the setbacks. If you want to help, and we know that someone from Jupiter Farms has already made a generous contribution to Bush Wildlife. If you want to help, they are looking for donations to help them with the move out here to the farms.
Yeah, I read that in the paper. That was one heck of a nice donation that a Jupiter Farm resident gave. That was pretty awesome. Cool. So I don't see any questions coming your way from the chat, or nobody unmiking as I'm riffing for a little bit more time. I don't see anything coming in on Facebook. All right. So now we can get, and this is going to be a fast meeting, folks. This is awesome.
Is
yeah.
Facebook frozen?
I do not know. It should not be. I just put the feed up. What was that, Jillian?
It's okay. It's got about a 5-second delay, but it's
Okay.
It's going through.
It was the captioning that was frozen. I think we were talking too fast.
Or not pronouncing our voiced fricatives.
Right.
Understood. All right. Well, thank you very much, Susan. I appreciate that. I am going to remove your spotlight. Sorry. I know that's sad. And now we get to go to JFR business. So I guess I should open my video up. So JFR, the biggest news from the last 2 months, obviously, are the scholarship awards. And we were really happy that we were able to keep our level of scholarship awards up throughout this really odd year, not a great fundraising year at all. So our congratulations to the 5 Jupiter Farms winners out there who are going along to do great things. And if you want to hear a little bit about them, you should tune into our June JFR podcast, because we were fortunate enough to get three kids together, and you heard a little bit about what was going on. So that's really great. And since we're talking about the podcast, remember that you can always get Jupiter Farms podcast on any Apple or Android device. It's absolutely free. And if you have, one of those Alexas who are, and now walking, doing sidewalk stuff, you could probably just walk by somebody's house and just say, hey, Alexa, play the Jupiter Farms Residents podcast, and you'll get to hear us. And I will say that the podcasts, especially for anybody new who's here for the first time, new residents, there's a great library of wealth of information about the history of the farms, about how certain things are done here. There have been people that have lived in Jupiter Farms for 30 years and have been paying water district fees for 30 years, but had no idea that there is the South Indian River Water Control District. So, the podcast serves as kind of like a living library that you can go back and listen to us. And of course, one of the other plugs I always like to do is, this is another great, if you're on Facebook and you follow all the bunny rabbits, spoonbill, every other call that, what do I do with this? Here's the Bush Wildlife emergency number. Put this into your phone, because you never know when you're going to be running across a dark road and you're going to need a little bit of help from the kind folks at Bush Wildlife Sanctuary. So it's 561-599-0071. And that's a great one to have in your phone as well. So this month, we are due for elections. There are 4 board member seats open, and there are 4 people who put their names in for those seats. So wonderful, wonderful. We don't actually have to have balloting. Nominations were opened up at the April 8th meeting, and they were closed on May 11th. There's some poor grammar in that slide as well that nobody caught. Thank you all. And so with 4 persons being nominated for the 4 open seats, a vote by acclamation is called with individual balloting not necessary. So congratulations to the 4 people, present company included, who ran and are just suckers. That's what we are. We're just suckers. So really, that's about all. Yeah, Susan, you have something. Unmute yourself.
Who are they?
Who are they? That's a really good question. I'm one of them. My name's Matt Gitkin. I believe Christina Tarr. I believe Melissa Dunlap, and I believe our treasurer, Kristen Atwood, are all reelected, but not necessarily to those positions, mind you. So keep that in mind. And it's anybody's ball game. Just to show you a little bit of swag that'll be coming up at the next JFR event when we actually have one. We have these new cool Jupiter Farms Life tumblers. Hey, look at that! Susan actually has one, and she's using it. That's pretty awesome. So right now, I guess what I would like to do is, if there's anybody that has any questions, please type them in, or raise your hand, or unmute your microphone and shout at me. Otherwise, and I will riff for a couple of seconds. This might be the fastest JFR meeting to have come and gone at 22 or 23 minutes that I have ever either attended or run. So I think that's like a nice little feather in the cap. But of course, if anybody's watching this afterwards, when it posts to Facebook and you have any questions, you can always shoot an email to jfresidents@gmail.com, and we will be happy to listen to them. So to the person who just joined the meeting, welcome to the end. And luckily, this will be posted on Facebook, and it'll go out via our social media, and you'll be able to watch the 23 scintillating minutes with great ease. Yes, Susan, you have something?
Is there really nothing else?
There is really nothing else. I put this. I mean,
make up something, because
we could talk about that. There's possible closures of the southbound 90. Is it 95 or Turnpike? But I posted it up there, and people are saying, "Well, I went through there after those hours, and it was open." So we're not sure when. Just if you're going south on either the 95 or Turnpike, odds are there's going to be a night here or two that it's going to be closed, and you may have to be diverted. So other than that, no, Susan, I don't.
Maybe mention when the next meeting is and what we're trying to do for it.
Then what are we trying to do for the next meeting? I believe the next meeting would be in August. The second Tuesday would be August 10th. What are we trying to do?
We're going to have a live option for people.
Yes. We're going to have the pavilion open, and we are going to have it set up somehow that we can still live stream on Zoom and simulcast to Facebook and have people ask questions and have people.
question.
You have a question, Jillian? Yes.
Question to Facebook. Any update to the landowner who put the fill on his property, 100 loads of fill on his property, causing drainage issues to his neighbors? Is there any update on that?
For that, I would have to yield to either Mike Dillon. I would probably yield to Mike Dillon. I don't know if Mike Dillon's still listening. Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. From the landowners, or any feedback from the county in regards to that landowner?
There's been. Say that again.
I said,
Hi, this is Ramsey, Matt.
Okay. Hi, Ramsey.
So the latest on that, if it's the same property I'm thinking about, there's an approved drainage plan that's been reviewed and approved by our engineers for that property, if it's the same one I'm talking about. And I just spoke with Doug Wise and our drainage engineers from the county this afternoon about that one particular property, if it's the same one I'm talking about. So it meets the current requirements, and it's got an approved drainage plan.
So I guess if we're going to jump into this hip deep, I do have a question regarding that. I believe the original permit was for either 10 loads, and it ended up being like something like 240 loads of dirt.
Yeah, so he came in, we cited him for that, and then he came in with his engineer and modified his permit. I can get all the information and email it to you tomorrow if you want, Matt. But yeah, we did catch him with that, and he did have to come in and modify what he was doing.
So has any of the earth been removed, or has he just modified?
I don't know. I believe he's just modified to meet the rule, meet the ULDC and Article 18 with regards to drainage.
So I guess Susan, you have a question on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, Ramsey, that the new engineering on that property meets the required 3-day, 24-hour storm event.
So that what you're talking about are some new rules that we're trying to get approved and passed Those haven't been implemented yet. What it does meet is what our current regulations are right now. We're in the process of trying to make it where anything up to 1.5 acres would have to survive the 10-year event on site, and then discharge at once you get to the 5 and 10 acres, then you're going to have to hold, if you over 10 acres, you have to hold 100%. So we're working on getting that language changed so that some more of the water is held on people's property before it discharges.
Did that answer your question, Susan?
Sure.
Well, I mean, so for me, my concern would be that if anybody can go in and put 200 loads of earth on their property, what is going to stop them?
Well, let me interrupt you, Matt, because from my understanding, according to information that I've received at the Sir Wicket meeting, was that the current code was the 3-year, 24-hour storm event. But that hadn't been necessarily enforced throughout all of these fill permits.
Right, and we only recently implemented fill permits. So there's a lot of properties out there that probably aren't in compliance. And you got to keep in mind too, a lot of the properties that are older were subject to, different floor elevations, et cetera, and those are the ones that are obviously, struggling with the newer homes coming in and meeting the newer requirements. And keep in mind, with the new requirements, you cannot just build a mountain to stick your house on it. You can only there's a certain maximum you can go to, and we do check that all the time. But
I'm going to correct you here, Ramsey, since we're in a public forum and folks can hear what some of our positions are. It's not new homes being built in the farms that are causing the issues. It's people filling in their properties to bring all of the property height up to septic level. And if the county's not going to enforce the fill permit, which will require holding water for a 3 or 24-hour storm, or however I messed that one up, then we have our hands bound, and some residents of our district are really on the short end of the stick.
Okay. Well, whatever they bring in has to meet our current code. And if they don't meet our current code, we'll issue them a notice of violation through code enforcement. So if you want to get on specifics per parcel, contact me tomorrow and I'll give you the specifics per parcel. But, you're talking in general terms now. I'm just trying to give you, some direction of where we're going to make things better out there moving forward. And it's not, like you said, it's not just new construction. It's anytime they bring fill in, because obviously we've got issues with septic systems, and we also got issues with the water table rising out there too.
Right, and this is where I was going with my thought, Ramsey, and since again we do have the opportunity to have you here, and thank you for that. Is that if, like I was saying, if anybody can just come in and bring, an engineering report, and you're going to okay it for 200 loads, that's going to affect, at some point, there's going to be a tipping point where that will definitely affect the drainage of our district. And that's where I get very, very concerned, because I have had things forwarded to me from different groups on Facebook where people are looking for homes, and they say, oh, when you're financing your house out in Jupiter Farms, mortgage an extra, 50 grand, which sounds like a lot of money, but when you're mortgaging it over 30 years, it ends up being about $20 a month. Figure about another $50,000 to fill in your yard with dirt, to bring in dirt. And so, what my concern is that people are now not only just living in houses out here, but they're looking at properties out here, and they're looking to say, oh, okay, I can move into a property and interest rates are really low. I can do $50,000 worth of dirt and bring the entire thing up. And the more that happens, like I said, we're going to get to a place where the drainage is going to be a very huge issue. And this is what we have, over the course of 2 years, we know that we've had this fill permit with county, and it seems like now that people are starting to use it, it's okay, go do 200 loads. And it's kind of like it defeats the purpose of how this was arrived at and how it's going to be implemented. And that's my concern in it. Maybe, just a house here, a house there, But eventually it's not going to be just a house here, a house there, and a house there. And that's what greatly concerns us.
Right. And so I understand that. And that's the reason why we're in the process of changing our code to make it where if you're under an acre and a half, that you have to retain a certain amount of an event on your property. Whereas now you don't have to retain it. You can just dump it into the swale, which is most of the time what they're doing. So we're working to make that better. But since, this is a hot topic, why don't we on the next Jupiter Farms meeting that's going to be in public, why don't I bring up the two drainage engineers that work for the building department that are, one of them was our water resource manager for the county, is extremely knowledgeable, and another person came from the district. Why don't we bring both of them up, and then we can
That would be
ask all
great.
the questions, and because frankly, I don't know all the technical terms. I don't, these guys have been doing it for 30 and 40 years, so they know it.
That would be great. If
So
we could have you and them up here for our August 10th meeting at 7, that would be awesome.
Right. So let's do that. And then while we prep for it, Matt, if you could send it through the commissioner's office, send it through Kim, send an invite, and then maybe perhaps start gathering some questions so that prior to the meeting we can prepare, realistic answers and do the research so that, we're not wasting time and not saying, hey, we'll get back to you.
Perfect.
That way we can totally respond to everyone. And I know there'll be some extra questions there, but that way we can, follow some sort of format and get you guys, the legitimate answers to the point. If you want to bring specific properties into the mix to talk about them, that's fine too. And we can just go through it from beginning to end.
That'd
So
be
then
great.
everyone has a clear understanding where we are with the water situation.
That would be great. Ramsey, what's the best direct phone number for you?
561-233-5008.
5008?
Yeah.
Perfect.
And the best is probably just email me is probably the best thing to do.
Okay, perfect.
Well, as a member of the Board of Supervisors out here on our Water Control District, Ramsey, I am actually going to give you a phone call tomorrow because I'd like to have some of this straightened out as quickly as possible. I know you've been working with our district engineer, but I think we're getting not the complete story, and I'd like to have that before our next supervisors meeting next week.
Right. Well, then why don't you shoot me an email and I can set up a
I will do that.
meeting with myself and our two engineers to go over all of this.
We'll do that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramsey, and thank you, Susan. That would be great.
And let me just also clarify something unrelated to this topic. The Hill Ranch, as it stands right now, they haven't postponed it. They basically just told the county, we don't care. We're appealing to HUD, and they filed a federal lawsuit. So that's where that is.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that, Susan. I didn't have that I had that they were just canceled, that the applicant canceled it.
I read it wrong. It's my
So Ramsey, they're going to go for a federal lawsuit?
Yeah, basically they said that the county illegally violated FHA rules and we should have treated them as a single family and we didn't, is essentially what they're saying.
Interesting.
So,
And that's probably all you're allowed to say on the topic.
right. I mean, send me an email. If I can get a copy of the suit, I'll send it to you guys.
It's an
It's all
interesting
public.
legal position.
What's
Yeah.
that?
It's an interesting legal position.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same one that gets done all the time.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
we've, just like you said, Susan, to go through the reasonable accommodation process, you have to go through all the steps.
Yep.
And you have to exhaust all your remedies, and they've chosen not to.
In the meantime, they're making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
That's a little editorial by me. The views I express are not necessarily those of Jupiter Farms residents.
And then just on the code enforcement side of things, we're still dealing with the illegal wedding facility up on 131st. I think that goes to hearing August, I believe.
Right. That was rescheduled. That was supposed to be last month or something.
Right. And their attorney's out for a month. Then I've got my guys out. So it's been difficult to gear up for a hearing on that.
That's the white trail or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Well, we'll be interested to see how that turns out as well. Trying to think while we have you, if there's anything else that we've got for Ramsey. You're like the unexpected surprise guest today, Ramsey.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, Kim asked me to come on board in case there's some questions. I'm just trying to think of any other.
Anything new with the IAA property over that's going on in the Commerce, Park of Commerce?
The only thing new is they did take some trees down illegally, so we're going to be finding them or having them replace X many trees. I don't know all the exact figures, but they did take some down that they shouldn't have taken down.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
So we got them for that. What else? I'm just trying to think what's going on in the area there. Bush, I haven't heard anything from Bush Wildlife, which is a good thing, which means it's moving along.
Right.
Um,
Somebody in our chat asks, do folks just think that they can open anything they want without zoning / licensing, etc.?
well, yeah, I'll give you the answer, yes or no. Some folks actually come in and tell us what they want to do, and we say, absolutely, you cannot do it, and then they just go do it anyways. Then they wonder why they're, getting brought in front of a magistrate, and then other folks just do it and claim ignorance. So it's all over the board.
Yeah. I guess that's, we reap what we sow out here, right? We've got these nice big lots that people feel like they can do whatever they want to do. And we see
Right
that all
now,
the time.
if you watched, I think it was last week or the week before, the Board of County Commissioners, we had the landscapers in Heritage Farms. They're the three that were semi-grandfathered in, for lack of a better term, are now not able to be there, so they're going to move out. So just keep your eyes and ears open for, these landscape services, because they're in the farms, they're in country estates, and they really shouldn't be there. A nursery can be there, subject to certain regulations, but a landscape service or a contractor storage yard, etc., should not be in the residential areas.
Right.
I have a question for Ramsey. Ramsey, do you have on the top of your head what the acreage requirements are for the nurseries with landscape services? Is it 3 acres or 5 acres?
Honestly, we've been to so many iterations. I can't remember off the top of my head.
But it is a certain acreage requirement that you have to have.
There is a certain acreage, and you can only have so much of that acreage devoted to landscape services. And keep in mind, if you've got it with a house and you live in there, now you're breaking the home occupation rules potentially. So if anyone's listening that has a landscape services there, you should probably come meet with us and see if you can end up staying there, or at least merge into the new rules. Else, ultimately code enforcement will get you, because it'll be the complaints from the neighbors that drive us to, go investigate.
Hey, Ramsey, not for nothing. I have there's every once in a while on the Facebook page, somebody says, you got to be careful. Zoning uses drones. Do you guys use drones? What's the real dish?
No, we don't.
You don't. Do you want to?
I don't want to, because I'm busy enough. So drones would make me even more busy. No, I don't. We didn't need to get into people's backyards. We have, and everyone has access to it. We have GeoNav, the satellite imagery or aerial photography that shows us everything we need. And I don't need to go into that kind of detail. When we see something and it's bad enough, we'll go after it. I don't need to nitpick that you've got one brick out of place or something, minuscule like that. So
Right.
We're just looking for the big ticket items that impact the neighborhood.
Well, we got some big ticket items out here. I don't see any other questions. Nobody has any other questions, do you? Does anybody? Going once? But now my 23 minute, Jillian, go ahead.
I do. First of all, thank you, Ramsey, for those explanations. And I have a question, Mike Dillon. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. There was an incident that came up with someone on a county road filling in their swale this week. And some who to call. I think they were told to call county and all of that. So can you give any clarification on somebody filling in the dirt on their swale on a county road, where to direct them to? Because
Well, yeah, number one, they're trespassing because Palm Beach County owns that property. That is their right of way. I actually talked to the owner
okay,
week and explained to him, if you're going to do anything in the right of way or even in district easements, you need to contact the proper authorities before you do anything like that. But his explanation was that he was not filling in the swale. He was doing some beautification work and he had some mechanical issues with his equipment. He did call the county. He did call Road and Bridge because I confirmed it today with their field supervisor, and they had a good conversation, and Palm Beach County is going to be monitoring that. But again, anybody doing anything in the easement, contact South Indian River or Palm Beach County. Those are the two authorities out there that have control over the easements and right of ways. But as far as I know, the county's monitoring that.
Okay, great. Yeah, it just for the future, I was a little confused on it. It just got a little confusing in that thread, but thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you very much again, Mike.
And with those complaints, just so everyone knows, I know people don't want to rat everyone out, but you can always call us and be anonymous, and you can stay anonymous and get a case number. Then you can always come back and call and reference that case number, and we can recite to you exactly the status of what's going on. Keep in mind, COVID has put a delay in our responses just because we were really trying to work with residents and give them, an exorbitant amount of time to come into compliance just because of what we were going through. So some things, have taken a little bit longer, but we're getting back to speed, and ultimately we want to work with everyone. We're not the mean, bad code enforcement folks out there. We're trying to help everyone out. So, feel free to contact us whenever you have an issue.
Thanks, Reggie. I appreciate that too. And just so you know, I know I did have a problem about a year ago. I did a code enforcement. I made a call to code enforcement. I can't remember what it was for, and I was calling on behalf of JFR, and they said, "Well, are you a neighbor? Are you a direct neighbor to this complaint?" I said, "Well, no," and they said, "We can't take your complaint."
Yeah, no, that's incorrect.
I just called back the next day and they took it. So.
Yeah, but sometimes they will ask you if you're a neighbor, because we'll ask, sometimes we may not be able to see it from the road or where we're legally able to be. So sometimes we'll ask, hey neighbor, if you have a problem with your neighbor that's got all the stuff going on and we can't see it, we might need permission to come on your property and take a look.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. Well, thank you. Is there any other questions for anybody? Any other new business? Any other old business? My 22-minute meeting is now 44 minutes, so we've doubled in time. You'll notice we finally took our thank you essential workers banners down from the county roads because they were a little weather beaten, but for all of you out there, we're still thanking you. So being that I see no other questions, I would motion for an adjournment, and thank you all for coming. And we'll see you in 2 months, and I'll get all the information posted onto our social media and our e-newsletter. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you in 2 months.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.